So I'm recording this guitar because it's unique. This is a Harmony Sovereign, one of the first acoustic electric guitars. This guitar was filling the need for a plug-in acoustic-based guitar before there were piezo pickups. And that's what these 6 holes are. This is a magnetic pickup with volume and tone and the output jack. But what they've done is they've used long pole pieces. These are basically screws. Technically they should be iron. I have a feeling they're steel. But when you put this thing inside, these things are going to come up flush. It's genius. This is like alternative thinking, to go, let's put extended pole pieces on. These are the things that are sending the string changes in vibration to the magnetic field created by the copper wire and some magnets. The change, it's not only created by the copper and it's the change that makes things happen. Anyway, the person who sent me this guitar has included absolutely everything, every washer, every nut, every screw, the springs, whatever was needed, the pick guard, including the wonderful holes. All in plastic bags, individual bags for the different parts. I checked the truss rod action. It works. I've checked the neck angle. It's a little low, but still very good. I've double checked it by actually threading a string through there. So, another unique part about this is 14 frets, solid spruce. I believe this is mahogany, solid mahogany. You'll see what's wrong with it in a minute. And a classical bridge. So what's wrong with the guitar is this big alley here. It's cracked here to here. Now the guy that sent me this guitar sent me this piece of wood. And we're going to try to make this invisible, or we have acknowledged that it'll be impossible to make it invisible, but that's what I like to do. So my challenge is to put this part back together and then get it in good playing condition. So my main work is obviously going to be to try to deal with this, and it's going to take some imagination, which we know is funny. Makes a cloudy day sunny. So we're messing around. Square, assuming these are square. Pretty square. This is interesting. So this thing seems to be slanting up in some places. We'll check it in a few other places. That's more sane. That's pretty much 90. Pretty much 90. We want this to be 92. And for reference, this is bowed out, and obviously that's bowed in. It's good to check. So my basic plan will be stick. It's going to go from here, and we want to find the worst place where it's caved in the most. It's right there. And what I want is for this to get wedged in, so I want it to be pretty much perpendicular to the radius that we're making, and it's not possible, but we can basically fudge this by, we'll put some padding on the ends to give it a little compliance, and start using it as a wedge. So we'll have to determine how to use it as a wedge and make it trial and error, hottest way. We'll be back. Stick must be short enough to fit inside. Too short to go across. Come on. Shoot howdy. Evoking the image of monkeys and footballs. Anyway, we'll stick that in there. We can try the wedge. Trial and error, hardest way. Okay, needs to be more bigger by a finger. Anyway, we're going to mess around with it until we get it. So, I took a stick like this, put it in there, and I had to add a little extension after it was inside. Otherwise, I stacked up 2 blocks like this vertically and held them in with tape, and these are padded on the bottom, it's padded on the top, and I've pushed this thing to where it was almost flush, left the crack open, held these, turned it upright, squeezed a bead of this in here, crazy glue from here to here, and then tightened these while manipulating this with my fingers. And it's flush. It's damn flush. Now I'm going to do a couple of other things. I would like it to relax, and I'm thinking about spritzing it, but I'm having really good luck this way, so I'm going to let this dry real good, and luckily I can maybe get in there and keep working this edge around, and then it's going to be important to seal this as soon as possible with vertical strips of carbon fiber, most likely. Moving right along. So, it's an hour later, and had my wedge and the blocks and the clamps, and I threw some crazy glue in here and clamped it, but I let go a little too early, so I had to re-glue it. And while it was clamped, I put in a piece of carbon fiber about like that, but a little shorter, coated with 5-minute epoxy, and that went in underneath right about here to hold it. This was still drying. Anyway, this piece is just like one that's in there. It's a little bigger, coated with 5-minute epoxy, and what I had to do was put a blob on there and test it until it got like real sticky. So you gotta wait 5 to 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I had a small piece of blue tape that would stick to my little finger, and that, it didn't stick out like that, but a little piece of blue tape, and if I angled my, I'll just you could get this almost to where it was not too sticky, and you could work this in, work your finger around and hold that in there for 5 minutes or 3 minutes. You could feel the resistance and then pop your little finger loose. These are things you learn out of desperation over many years. Now I've got a cleat here, carbon fiber, cleat here. This is held together by the grace of, and I'm going to try to put another significant carbon fiber piece in, or two. I want the vertical grain to hold it together. It's technically would bend along the proper axis, but I'm going to use small strips just like they would if they were trying to reinforce this when they were building it. Okay. Down and dirty. Hurdy-gurdy. The stuff is thixotropic. It's engineering. Adhesion talk. Means it finds the cracks and runs into them. If you want potting compound for electronics, thixotropic is the way to go. I'm trying to hold this while it glues. Find hottest way. Anyway, the main one is pretty much done. Ooh, in one evening. So we've disappeared the crack. From here to here, it's gone. We've got to do finishing, but we've also fixed this. I glued this and glued this, but there's nothing in back of it. And we have this hole. The guy who packed up the guitar left me a present. And this sucker's going to fit when I'm done. It's going to fit back in where it came from, and we'll be left with some splinters. And my next thing is to put a backer in back of this section. And I can't reach in that far. That's what makes it fun. I will probably try to fabricate and pull through from the sound hole. Right now I'm observing this progress by looking through this hole and putting a light inside. And it looks pretty good. So, onward and upward. So, piece of carbon fiber, 2 guitar strings, 2 holes drilled in it. We're going to push it through there and pull it back. And get something to eat right after the glue starts drying. Alright, we know the top and the bottom. All we're interested in doing is holding this in place. Until the glue dries. And it's a straight piece on a curved surface. So we're using globs. And we'll deal with any residual epoxy sticking to guitar strings shortly hereafter. Now I know the fat one's on the bottom, and I've already pushed the glue where we want it, and we're not going to worry too much about cleanup. I could have waited. dry first, but I didn't. So we'll be stuck here for a while. So I'm getting sick of holding them. This is the my preferred method. I can pull on the string and get it pre-tensioned. Put this spring clip on here, and its weight will also tend to add to it. If I turned it this way, it would too. I usually do this on flat surfaces, and these things kind of roll over and pull up. But this will be fine. The object here is to get the glue to stick this black plate to the sides and still have time to push these out of the way. I don't want them left in there. Took off one clamp and freed this wire. Get out of there, boy. Anyway, that one's going to be easy to grab and pull out from the inside. Yeah, there it is, it's gone. And, what I do is leave there. This is what I mixed it on, and it's definitely sticky, which tells me I can let that go. So maybe I will. Yeah. Come on now. My glue works good and fast. Torsion it. There it is. That glue will be dry enough in 10 minutes to proceed. That's when we put the little chunk back in. It's ugly right now, but it'll come around. So we have to push this in under here. It won't go because it globs. And it'll lay eventually back in there. And that'll go under there. Again, it ain't going to happen that way, so I'm going to trim this so it'll just fit. Pretty ugly, isn't it? Need a filler. Mahogany. Mahogany. Highball. Yep. Wood. What a gas. Yeah. A little thing on it there. Got it all the way back to here now. Favorite tool. This will be tapered. It'll wedge in. Wedge right in there, boy. So, little more. Turned out we didn't need to do that. All right. Closer and closer. We're getting ready to glue it in. We'll glue it in. Well, it looks a little ugly, but we don't seem to be concerned. There's gaps, there's a gap, and there you could keep cutting little pieces and sticking them in there. Yeah, I could. We'll see. I probably won't. We'll go to the next step. This whole piece I did without breaking through the finish, except in a few places. the wood underneath the finish is going to be that color. Pretty close to it. So you have to level the whole area. So we'll say goodbye to visual continuity. At least for a while. The primitive primary leveling, see what it might look like. Phase. We haven't filled those holes yet, but one trick is to use this very dust. Don't even move it. We're thinking about it. Now the dust that falls into these holes is primarily the wood dust that we're looking for. If I can remember where those holes were, there was one here. Come on, get on down there. Now really, one would put some more of the same sawdust on there. I don't remember where any of the holes were. We'll do this once or twice. Say it's very nice, and then we'll run. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There's one. Just don't. We'll hit it a few more times. Let it dry. Do a more careful leveling. So I also spread dust from the belt sander here. It makes it dry instantly. This is really, where are you here? Really rough sandpaper. I won't use this for long. So then hitting it with Chinese 100 grit. Pretty sure it's made in China. Just kind of disintegrates before your very eye. But, I don't know what that is. It's a nick. It's a missing thing. We need to do this. I'm not really using the flatness of this block. I'm still using this to make specific. We're happy with what we're doing is getting scratches out right now. And we'll shift to 220 next. Well, 220, we did some like 180. That's the Chinese 180 emery paper. I got a batch of bargain sandpaper a few years ago. The stuff from 3M and or Ace Hardware. The current sandpapers are really good. They don't clog, much. And you can get a 320 for wood. This is looking real good as far as a surface. You have to know when to stop. Found? Uh-oh. It's probably there's a rough spot right there. But I want to see what it looks like. I use this block. Oh, it looks real good. To check color and wipe off excess. It is red. And we'll have to moderate that. But we just want to see what things are going to look like. We'll go ahead and put some dark brown over it if we have any left. To be an artiste. So it's starting to look, so there's no lacquer on there yet, but anyway, we're 90% there. Remember, it was broke from here to there with a big hole in it. Oops, here to there. And got some shading to deal with, and we can deal with it. Ooh. So, this is my tool of choice. It's a single edge razor blade with a curve. You can see the curve. Take it out of the box and put a kink in it. It's a nice crisp edge. I used it for leveling this brushed on lacquer. I've been doing this for a few minutes. You'll see it's building up this stuff. There's a bunch of it on the blade. The lacquer is soft plastic right now. And this appears to be much darker, but really, if you get it into the proper lighting situation, it ain't bad. And, I'm not worried about it. Ooh. So anyway, we've scraped. The scraper helps level the surface from the brush strokes and globs and brushing on thick lacquer. If I use this, it's going to remove the lacquer from everywhere, not just the high spots. So now my option at some point is to spray instead of brush, but I'm taking this as a challenge.